Here we have another story question, kind of like number 3, but this one is actually much, much easier in my opinion because the story doesn't matter. The equation is so recognizable, and this is where we're going to use our get back to basics strategy. The SAT likes to take the stuff that you learned in school, which was very simple, you did very well in your tests, I'm sure, and they like to twist it up so that it looks different, and so that when you see it on the SAT, you don't even recognize it. And so that's how they make things hard a lot of times, is they take stuff that you know and disguise it. That's exactly what's happening here. We can see that there's an equation. And so my mind is drawn to that equation, and I look at it, and I see if I can recognize what it means without the story. Because if I can get back to the math topic that they're testing, I'm much more likely to understand both the question and the story. So what is it? Well, it's the most common equation you're going to see on the SAT. It is y equals mx plus b. It's a line. And the way I know that is that linear equations typically have two variables where neither of them have any exponents. So no exponents, two variables, you're probably dealing with a line. And so our job is to kind of make this equation line up with the main y equals mx plus b equation that we're familiar with. So in this case, it's pretty clear. P is going to kind of represent y. D must be x because that's the other variable, the other thing that we don't know. But if D is x, then the negative 23, which is attached to it, has to be the slope. And so what's weird about this equation is we've kind of switched where the b and the m are kind of located. So it's not about what comes first and what comes second. It's about what's attached to the x and what's kind of off on its own. And so that's really important. Again, like the SAT is going to take things that you know and they're going to twist them up. They took the y equals mx plus b equation that you know and they twisted it up so it looked a little bit different. Your job is to untwist, get back to basics so that you understand what's going on. Because now this question is much, much easier. What is the meaning of the value 108? Well, 108 represents the b. And we know that normally the b is the y-intercept, right? It's where x is equal to 0. Now, when we have a story, the y-intercept is pretty much always going to be the starting point. And that really comes down to the fact that when we have a story, we very rarely have negative numbers. And so the y-intercept is usually like the first point that we plot, and then everything kind of goes positive and towards bigger x values from there. And so that means what we're looking for in these answers is something that sounds like a starting point. Right away, choices C and D don't really match. Those sound like slopes, right? A rate would be a slope, a change. So poor description there. A and B are both kind of close, but I think one really sounds like a starting point. So choice A, Kathy will complete the repairs within 108 days. Well, complete, that sounds like an ending point. Let's look at B. Kathy starts each week with 108 phones to fix. So I would pick that. Now, I get that there's still an element maybe where you're confused about why that's the case and how the story makes sense, but I'm giving you permission not to care about that. We're still at the beginning of this section where questions are going to be easier. We've done a lot of good work, and we know with confidence that y-intercepts tend to be starting points, and this is a starting point. Like, it sounds like a starting point. So trust the process, and the more you see of these, and the more stories that you connect to y equals mx plus b, the more confident you'll be the next time you see one. So that's the key, is if you learn to see the pattern that the SAT is doing, you're going to be a pro when you get to your SAT. You'll be spotting lines all over the place. That's what I want for you.